Now in this foundation level test paper, the calculator is allowed. So you may use calculator in the following questions to solve. Question number 12 here is, Michael, Julie and Ellison went to eat in a restaurant. The total cost of their meal was $120. Michael paid 1/6 of the total cost. Julie paid 35% of the total cost. Ellison paid the rest of the total cost. Work out how much Ellison paid. So let's begin with how much Michael paid. 1/6 of. So Michael paid, so let me write M, what Michael paid. 1/6 of means times 120, correct? So you could simplify this. 6 times 2 is 12. So $20 was paid by Michael. 35% was paid by Julie. So 35% of 120. That means 35 over 100 times 120. Correct? So that much was paid. So you could cancel this. And at this stage, it is better to use calculator, right? So let's do 35 times 12 divided by 10, and we get $42. Now alternate will be, we could do 35% as 0.35 times 120. Correct? So let's do it like that also. 0.35 times 120 is equal to same amount, which is $42, right? So the amount paid by Julie was $42. Total is 120. So Ellison will pay how much? So for Ellison, from 120, we'll take away what is paid by the others. So which is 20 plus 42, right? So we get here 120 minus 62. And that is 120 minus 62 equals to 58. So we get $58 was paid by Ellison, right? So we'll write Ellison paid $58. Question number 13. Amrish arrived at Bangkok train station at 6:07 p.m. Write 6:07 p.m. as a time using 24-hour clock, right? So in 24-hour clock, we'll add 12 hours, right? This is p.m., right? Therefore, 6:07. So we get 18:07, correct? So we write this as 18:07. In 24-hour clock, we write this as 18:07. Amrish train left Bangkok station at 7:35. How many minutes are there between 6:07 and 7:35? So we'll take away to find the difference. So basically we have 7:35 take away 6:07. So these are the minutes, right? These are hours and these are minutes. Okay. So when you borrow from here, it becomes 2. That becomes 15. So it is 8, 2, and 1, right? So it is 1 hour and 28 minutes. So we can write here, the answer is 1 hour and 28 minutes, right? Amrish's train left Bangkok station at 7:35. His train journey lasted 8 hours 42 minutes. At what time did Amrish's train journey end? So we'll add the time it lasted to get the answer. Correct? You need to give your answer in 12-hour clock, right? AM and PM. Okay. So it is 7:35 PM and his journey lasted 8 hours. So let's do 7:35 plus 8 hours and 42 minutes, right? So what we get here is 5 plus 2, 7. This is also 7. And when we add 8 and 7, we get 15. So 15 hours, 77 minutes. Now it was PM, right? That means we have already crossed 12. Do you see that part? Correct? Second, we have 77 minutes here. You need to convert this to hours and minutes. So it is 77 can be written as 60 plus 17, right? So 16 is like 1 hour and 17 minutes. So what we get here is 16 hours and 17 minutes, correct? So 16 is 4 more than 12, right? Therefore, we could write this as 4:17 a.m. Is that clear to you? So the time will be in a.m. now, right? Since the total is more than 12, so that means now it is the next day starting, correct? So 4:17 a.m. will be your answer. Is that clear to you? Question number 14 is factorize. Now here we'll see in these two examples how to factorize. In factorization, we take common factors. 10a plus 25. Now 5 is common, correct? You could write this as 5 times 2. So 5 is common. So it becomes 5 times 2a plus 5 times 5 is 25. So that is your answer, right? So I'm not writing here, but I'll write all the answers here this time. 7w square minus 4w. So w is common, right? So we can take w common. So you can take numbers common. You can take the variables common or both of them if possible. So when you take w common, you get 7w here minus 4. Now part C is to expand p squared times p. So when you expand, you need to multiply with both. So we get p squared times p minus p squared times 5. So what you get here is equal to p cubed minus 5p squared. Now it is a good practice to write numbers before the variables. The last one here is to expand, let's put it here, x minus 3 times x plus 7. So first you multiply by x. So you could write this as x times x plus 7 and then with minus 3 x plus 7, right? Now we'll expand as we did earlier. So we get x squared plus 7x minus 3x minus 21. So when you multiply plus and minus, it becomes negative. Now we can combine the like terms. We get x squared. 7x minus 3x is 4x minus 21. Do you see? So that becomes your answer. Perfect. Okay. So what you see is a figure, and we'll be working about rotation and also dilation or enlargement of the object about the given point. The question really is this. On the grid, enlarge shape P was scale factor 2 and center 7, 3. Label the new shape Q. On the grid, rotate shape P through 90 degrees anti-clockwise about the point 7, 3. Label the new shape as R, right? So we need to do both the things here. So that's a very good question to work on. So let's first do enlargement, right? So we'll work on enlargement. Let me choose a color. You are actually supposed to write only in black ink when you solve this particular type of questions here in the test paper. However, we are going to use different inks to illustrate how to solve, right? So we'll do part A, which is enlarge the shape, right? So we'll do now enlarge. With scale factor of 2, right? So twice it should look like, right? Since we are given, this is a point 7, 3, right? So that's the point on which we have to work. So this point is 7, 3 for us. 7 on the x-axis, 3 on the y-axis. So enlarge basically means we could actually draw lines. It'd be within a triangle, similar triangle. The outer triangle will be twice, right? So let us say we are working on this quadrant. Quadrant 1 point given to us is this one. Let's call this point as A. The point is 1, 2, 3, 4 units from the reference point 73. So when you enlarge, it will move two times. It will be 8 away, 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this point will appear at this position, correct? Now with reference to this, we can actually get the other point. Now here it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So from here we have to go 6 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you get a point and you see the image. Instead of being 2 units, has now become 4 units. So that is the meaning of scale factor 2. Is that clear to you, right? So let us sketch this. So we get this one part of it, kind of like this. Now, let's also get another reference point. So if you look at it, going straight like this, well, let's look into this point now, right? So that is, we already covered these 2 points. Now let's focus on this. Now this particular point is how much away from here? Well, you could go like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, right? So 3 times. So we get from here, you go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's it. So you get to the next point, which should be right there. Okay. So we get this as our point. So let's connect this. So once we get this, we can actually complete our figure. Here, from here we have to go up, but it will be 2 units up, right? So we have to go 2 units up. So everything is 2. So instead of 1, I have to go 2 units, correct? And here also we can kind of complete and get our diagram. Do you see that? So that becomes our image, right? And we have to mention this as Q. Perfect. Now it's a good idea to write all the quadrants and the coordinates. So you may like to write the coordinates of these vertices to complete your answer. Is that clear to you? Perfect. So you could do like this. Some of you may also draw lines and then, sketch the points. For example, from here if you measure, then you can get the points twice away, right? That's one way. But better way is to count the squares. So that way, you're fairly independent of any other instrument and you can easily do your work. So that is the first part. Now, the second part of this question is, on the grid, rotate shape P through 90 degrees anti-clockwise. Means we have to rotate it kind of like this, right? So that is anti-clockwise. So if something is here, it goes to that point, correct? So the idea is, if you do this rotation, then any point which is x, y here, once rotated, we get a negative value, right? So it becomes a negative, but y comes first. This point, y becomes x and x becomes y when you rotate counterclockwise by 90 degrees, right? So you could use this particular transformation to get your new quadrants. That is one thing very good. Okay, but here, now what you also see is that the rotation, point of rotation is not the origin. This transformation is possible if you have the point as the point of rotation matches with their origin. Now in this particular case, it doesn't. Then what should we do? Well, let's create another coordinate axis, right? So what we will do here is that we'll think about a new quadrant. So here we have another coordinate axis. So that is a new coordinate axis. Let this point be O dash, new origin, right? So think about the figure given to you with this coordinate axis. Then it becomes simpler. Perfect. Do you get the idea, right? And now think about rotating everything by 90 degrees. So that is what we are looking for. Is that clear to you? So as you can see from what we just showed you, this particular point A, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 away, will now be 4 down. So 1, 2, 3, 4 will come at this position. Correct? Now this position, which is 6 down, will be 2 more 6 down, right? So that is how you will get the new position. So the point, let me call this as B. In that case, that will become A dash B dash after 90 degrees counterclockwise rotation. So I get one edge of the shape. You get an idea, right? Okay. Now, let's apply the transformation technique and check the other points, right? So let's say we work on this point. Now from here, if I have to reach this point, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then up 1, 2, 3. So this point from here is basically, from here, I'm checking with here, right? It is basically minus 6 and 3 up, right? So if I have to go for a rotation, then basically I'll flip this, so it becomes 3 and it will become minus 6, and I have to change this to negative 3. So that really means that from here I go 3 units left, 1, 2, 3, and then 6 units down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I reach this place, correct? So that becomes my position of this point. Does make sense to you, correct? So that becomes the position. So I like you to really look into it, how I got this point, right? So we get this edge, which I'll call as BC, and let me call this as C dash. Perfect. Now actually it is much simpler to sketch the whole thing. You need not get into the details, but you could do it. And now we can just sketch the whole thing as the figure, which should look like this. We have to maintain the shape, right? It is absolutely congruent shape. Perfect. And we'll call this as R. Only thing is that the orientation has changed and has now moved counterclockwise by 90 degrees. So anti-clockwise is also like counterclockwise. Is that clear to you, right? So I hope the steps are absolutely clear. So that is how we have done it, correct? Now, if you want, you can write the final coordinates of all the points. You can label them as D dash, E dash, and F dash, and write down the coordinates of each one of them, right? So for example, in your answer, you can mention A dash will be, now when you answer, you have to answer with the original reference, right? So from here, it is 7 minus 1. Clear? As far as B dash is concerned, it is 7 minus 3. C dash is 4 minus 3. D dash is 4 minus 2. E, the image of E is E dash, which is 6 minus 2. And F dash will be 6 minus 1. So I hope these steps are absolutely clear, right? So these points which we'll put in the solution will be with reference to original origin, right? Now see how we actually did the rotation about an external point. So remember, so when you're talking about rotation about external point, then what you should do is change reference. We call this reference frame with origin at the point, we'll say point about which it has to be rotated, right? Point of interest. So I hope you're getting my point, correct? So the whole idea is we are to look from the external point of view and then rotate the object. Once you rotate the object, you can always read the coordinates of the point on the original frame. You get the idea, right? So that is how we have to do it. So I hope the steps are absolutely clear. Here is question number 16. Here is a list of ingredients needed to make apple and blackberry crumble for 4 people. Rufus wants to make apple and blackberry crumble for 10 people. Work out the amount of apple he needs. Now, make a note. This is for 4 people. You want it for 10 people. So how are you going to do it? Now, one way is that you can find for one person and then multiply by 10 to get for 10 people, right? So let's find all the ingredients for one person, right? So each. So for one person, how much? To find one person, we have to divide all this by 4, right? So we have to divide by 4. So when you divide 120 by 4, see the calculator is again allowed, right? So you can do 120 divided by 4, you will do 80 divided by 4, 90 divided by 4, 300 divided by 4, and 115 divided by 4, correct? To get all these values. Then you multiply them by 10 to get for 10 people, right? So that is how we'll do it. So let's do using calculator. 120 divided by 4 is 30. 80 divided by 4 is 20. 90 divided by 4 is in decimals 22.5. 300 divided by 4 in decimals is 75. And 115 divided by 4 in decimals is 28.75. Now we have to write for 10 persons. So for 10 persons, we need to multiply these by 10. Now 10 is like place value change, right? So 30 becomes 300. So we write this as 300. 20 becomes 200. 22.5 becomes 225. That is 750. And that becomes 287.50. It's good practice, correct? So all these units are in grams. So that becomes our answer, right? So I've shown my working here and given the answer here itself. Now, the next part is, Roland makes apple and blackberry crumble for a group of people. He uses 929 grams of blackberries. Work out the number of people in the group. So what we learned here is that we have from this table 28.75 grams for one person, right? So we have 28.75 grams per person, correct? Now he's using 920 grams. So how many persons? So we'll do 920 grams divided by 28.75 grams to get our answer. So when you divide 920 by 28.75, you get 32. So that means total number of persons in the group is 32, right? So we get our answer, total number of persons is 32. Is that clear to you? So we could do it like this. So I hope it makes sense. So let's move on and take the next question, which is question number 17. The table shows information about the length in centimeter of 40 leaves. So length in centimeters, frequency. Total is 40, right? So this total is 40. Write down the modal class. Modal means most frequent. So in this 14 is the highest number, so that becomes the modal class, right? So the modal class is from 3 to 4, correct? So we could write like this, or we could write as such. We could also write this as modal class is this, correct? Now part B is work out an estimate for the mean length of the 40 leaves. Give your answer correct to one decimal place. Now this is grouped, so we don't know exactly the 4 persons what is for the 4 leaves, what is the exact length. So therefore, we have this term estimate, right? So what we do here is we find the center value. So for each, let me write the center value. So I'm writing this as the center value. So it'd be 0.5 for the first one, 1.5, 2.5, middle value, right? 3.5. and then 4.5. Now we'll assume that all these 4 leaves have a length of 0.5 centimeters. So now, let's say this is the frequency. We'll make a column multiplying this frequency with the number, right? So when you multiply, let's use calculator. We get 4 times 4 times 0.5. Here we'll get 5 times 1.5. And then we'll do 11 times 2.5. And then we'll do 14 times 3.5. And then we'll do 4.5 times 6. Okay. So 4 times 0.5 is 2. 5 times 1.5 is 7.5. 11 times 2.5 is 27.5. Then we have 14 times 3.5 is equal to 49. 4.5 times 6 is 27. So we can add them all. So that becomes the total of this, right? Let's add them all. So let's add and write down what we have. 27 plus 49 plus 27.5 plus 7.5 plus 2. And that gives you 113, right? So the average will be 113 divided by 40, right? So that's the average. So we'll divide this by 40 to get our answer. In decimals, it is equal to 2.825, correct? Centimeters. Now it says give your answer to 1 decimal place, right? So it is equal to 2.8 centimeters. Is that clear to you? So that is how we are going to do it. So I hope the steps are clear. So the first step here is to find the center value of each class. Multiply that with the frequency and then find their addition divided by total number of leaves. So the average length will become 113 divided by 40. Round your answer to 1 decimal place, correct? Question number 18. Use your calculator to work out the value of this. Give your answer to 1 decimal place. Now when you do this working, remember to put the brackets here to calculate. Otherwise, do it in steps, right? So that is how you should be doing it, correct? So we could do it in one step. You can put a bracket as I've shown here. Then do 7.3 plus 2.1, bracket close, divided by 6.4, right? So you can do this operation first and then you add 2.2 square to this. And you get one answer which is 5047 divided by 800, correct? Give your answer as a decimal. Write down all the figures on your calculator display. So let's put it in decimals as equal to 6.30875. Now it says give your answer to part A correct to 3 significant figures. Now when we say 3 significant figures, then we have to round it in this case to 100th place. So we get this as 6.31. Is that clear to you, right? 3 significant figures. So this is to 3 significant figures. The next question here is question number 19. On the grid, draw the graph of y equals to 2x plus 4 for values of x from -3 to 3. Only from -3 to 3, correct? So let's look into what we can do is we can make a table from these. Now these are straight, this is the equation of straight line. So what you can do here is that you can write down the value of x and calculate. So if I write x equals to -3, what do I get y equals to? So y will be 2 times -3 plus 4, which is -6 plus 4 or -2. For x equals to 3, we get y equals to 2 times 3 plus 4, which is 6 plus 4 equals to 10. So on the graph in -2, -3 minus 2 will be our 1 point, which is this point. And then the other point we can take at 3, as 10, right? So that is the second point. Joining these points, we get our line. It's a good practice to even check for some value in between. So if x is 0, then y should be equal to 4, right? 2 times 0 is 0. So 4 is the y-intercept. So our line should go through 4. Joining these points, we get our straight line. Is that clear to you, right? So that is how we are going to sketch this particular graph. So we'll just join these 3 points to get the graph, right? So remember not to extend it further. So this is a segment, line segment, whose value changes from -3, -2 quadrant to the coordinate value of 3 to 10. Is that clear to you, right? So that is how it will be. Next question. Question number 20. Calculate the length A to C. Give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. Now we are now landing up into trigonometry. So at this level, trigonometry may be a new subject for many of you, right? Now here, we need to find what AC is. So this is a right triangle where AC is the hypotenuse. What we are given here is adjacent side, right? Since we are given adjacent side, we can use cos. Now cos of 22 will be equal to adjacent over, which is 14.9 over AC, correct? So cos theta is adjacent over hypotenuse. So if you look from angle 22, that is the right angle. So this becomes adjacent side. Now we can cross multiply and find the value of AC. So AC will be equal to 14.9 divided by cos of 22 degrees. It has to be longer, right? It is more than 14.9. Remember, 14.9 divided by cosine 22 equals to 16.07. Okay. We need to write to 3 significant figures. So we'll round this to 16.1, correct? Units are centimeters. Is that clear to you? So that is how we are going to answer this particular question. So I'd like you to go through this once again. Remember, AC is the hypotenuse. We are expecting answer which is more than 14.9, right? So cosine is the trigonometric ratio which is used here since adjacent and hypotenuse are involved. Perfect. Round your answer to 3 significant places. Question number 21 is to use ruler and compass to construct the bisector of angle PQR. You must show all your construction lines. So let's do it. Now to bisect an angle, we need to have a compass as shown here. So I'll show you the whole work here. We need to keep it at Q and make an arc to cut the 2 rays, right? So at those points, we can again keep the compass with the same arc. We have to cut the arc right in the center. Once you do that, we get a point which can be joined with the vertex Q. And once you join that, that becomes the bisector of the angle, correct? So that is how we do it. So let's join. So from Q to this point. So that becomes the bisector. Is that clear to you? So that is how we bisect it. Let's call this point as M. So that becomes the bisector. That means these 2 angles will be equal. So I hope the steps are absolutely clear. Question number 22. This is the last question of this test paper. In 2014, Donald's weekly pay was $640. In 2015, Donald's weekly pay was $668.80. Work out the percentage increase in Donald's pay between 2014 and 2015. So percentage increase is what? Is change in pay over initial or original, right? Times 100. That is how you find percentage increase. So change is from 640 to 668. So we'll do 668.80 minus 640. Over original was 640. Or initial you can write times 100. Correct? So that is how we get percentage change. So it is 668.80 minus 640 divided by 640 times 100. So that gives you 9 over 2. So let's do it in decimals, which is 4.5. So we have a percentage change of 4.5%. Now part B, next part is, in 2015, Donald's weekly pay was 95% of his weekly pay in 2016. Work out Donald's weekly pay in 2016. So let in 2016 the pay be P, right? Now it says in 2015 the pay was actually 668.80. So what they are saying is 668.80 is 95% of the pay in 2016. Is that clear to you? So that means 668.80 is equal to 0.95 times P, correct? So the value of P will be equal to 668.80 divided by 0.95. So you expect higher value, right? 668.8 divided by 0.95. So that gives you 704. So that is 704. So your answer here is $704. Perfect. So that is how you're going to answer this question. So I hope you understand and appreciate how these questions can be answered. So that was the foundation level test GCSE 2017. Feel free to write your comments, share your views, and if you like and subscribe to my videos, that'd be great. You can always send your queries to my email address shown here. Thanks for your time and all the best.